So, and Lawrence will talk with us about one platform which helps people to create ideas, to work on them, and I hope you will tell us the whole story, the one I was listening yesterday, how it's happened and what you are doing exactly, how you moved and how you changed your ideas. So please, Lawrence, it's your time, please.
Thank you very much. Yesterday I flew here by plane and I decided to stay on the plane. The previous time I jumped off the plane at 5 kilometers high. Who did this? Skydiving? Anyone? Few people? It's an amazing feeling. If you jump out of the plane at 5 kilometers and you have a 1 minute free fall, 200 kilometers an hour, wind in your face, that's the best moment of your life. Wow! And hopefully after this 1 minute, the parachute opens and you land safely. And the thrill that you have afterwards, it's amazing. It's wow, I did this. What's next? How often do you get that feeling in your job? How often do you have this feeling, yes, I did something new, I learned something, I accomplished this. That's the problem, right? We miss that feeling. People aren't engaged enough to have that feeling. And that's what I want to talk about with you. I read a book this summer. The book is called Bullshit Jobs. Who heard about it? In the book, the US author David Graeber asked the question to people, do you think that your job has any meaning at all? He asked the question to people worldwide. And what do you think was the percentage of people who actually says, nah, my job has no meaning. My job is a bullshit job. What do you think? Stand up if you think it's over 1% of the people who say, my job has no meaning. Stand up if you think it's more than 1%. Come on. It's far higher. Stand up. They all stand up. Stand up. Come on. Move. Let's get some movement in here. So it's far higher than 1%, I'm telling you. Keep on standing if you think it's up to, over 5% of the people who say, my job is completely useless. Keep standing if you think it's over 10%. Keep standing if you think it's over 20% of the people that say, my job has no meaning at all. Keep standing if you think it's over 30%. Keep standing if you think it's over 35%. Because yes, 40% of the people, they say absolutely for sure, my job is a bullshit job, worldwide. And even, thank you, you can sit down, over 40%. And even doubting, it's another 40%. So it's 80% of the people who are not sure that their job has actually a meaning, adding anything to society. And that's what really gets me on. How can we have a society with so many bullshit jobs? We're not producing anything that's actually worth something for somebody in a real sense. So there's so much potential under employees of your company, but we're not using it. Everybody has a unique talent. Everybody is the best in something in the world, in your company. Do you know in what aspect you're the best? What's your talent? And do you feel like it's being used every day? And do you feel like you use the talent of your employees? There's so much unsolved potential there. And I want to talk with you about that. Because that's what I did. I see myself as a pioneer. I quit my job 5 years ago and I said I never want to work in an organization anymore. I decided to do what I'm best at and only work with people who also choose to work on what they're best and not work in an organization anymore that defines what to work on, who to work with. But be free and choose yourself with who and what you want to work on. So I decided to form temporary teams. And we created the concept of a part-up, the name part-up, for the name of a temporary team. So instead of a startup, where you start with the energy of something new, but you end up as an organization slowing down and the bureaucracy and all the energy is going away. We said, if you start with a party, if you start with a team, and you agree on the start that you will that you will split up, we call it party, then you have the energy all the way. You can completely commit and completely go in, and you can go into a flow. And that feeling of working with a group of people, bam, that's what you want to have every day. But how to organize it? We need a different form of organization. We need something different. And that's actually happening. What I see is a change in how we organize. From 1 to 2. Most large companies are in there. They start with agile teams, self-steering teams, self-organization. Organizations that already are used working in this way, they usually transform. And they say, hey, if we have our professionals in these small teams and they are engaged with the clients, they make customer journeys, why can't they decide the direction of the company? And we still have some form of formal hierarchy in place, but we turn it around. Treated our organizations. And I actually worked in a consultancy firm that had this structure in place. But there were still partners owning the company, hiring the people working there. And I said, can't we get rid of this structure? And I'm now working with my colleagues, over 10 at the moment, last year's over 25, with them in a cooperative organization. We're all freelancers, and we have no hierarchy at all. And this way of organizing the ecosystem, I believe, is the future of work. Not for everyone, because sometimes you go backwards. But this trend is going on. Everyone is taking one step, most of them to the right, sometimes you go to the left, it's situational, but almost everywhere I come, you see the challenges we face with our customers are more complex. So, if you want to serve your customers better, you have to adjust to them. Even better, best. To make temporary teams for each client fast, to serve their specific needs, you have to be agile. But on the other hand, as well from the employee perspective, this gives far more flexibility to choose when to work, what to work on, how flexible you want to work. So I believe this trend is the future for organizations. Whom of your organizations is in 1? Who is still organized in 1? Who's organized in 2? Organized in 3? And who's organized in 4? Thanks. So my main point here is employee engagement. Only 15% of the people are engaged. Also, worldwide. There's no big differences between different sectors. The farmers are a little bit more, education a little bit more, healthcare a little bit more than other sectors. But overall, it's this idea. Only 15% of people is engaged with their job. So there's so much more potential. 80% is actively disengaged. They hate their job. How come we do this to our people? How come we cannot organize it differently? That's what wakes me up at night. So we come up with this idea of working differently. But I don't want to do it myself. I want to offer this to all these people who, for me, feel like they're in prison if they're in a one local organization. I want to offer them the freedom. So what did we do? We came up with the idea of a marketplace. What if you put the work on a marketplace and you let people decide themselves what to pick, what to work on? So we built a project marketplace. First of all, for ourselves, so me and a network of freelancers, we can share projects and step in based on intrinsic motivation and be surprised who's stepping in. Hey, I didn't know you were going to do it. So, but also for the people working in a traditional organization, share the project online and a project marketplace. I introduced that concept. I sold it almost 50 times in the beginning of my company a few years ago. But after they sold it, and after investors gave me a huge raise, and we went up as a company, part of started as a project marketplace, we saw nobody was using it. After 1 year, all the companies who put all their projects on the marketplace, we saw people weren't picking the projects from there. Why weren't they? Because they didn't feel the freedom to pick up a project and work on a project. They had to ask their manager. The manager said, no, you have to work on this result. And you have to work harder, by the way. Don't ask me again. So this idea of a project marketplace within an organization is a very nice idea, but it didn't work at first because people didn't feel the freedom to work on those projects. And even companies where they had like a rule, like you could use 10% of your time to work on these flexible projects, it still didn't really take off. There was missing something. So we almost went bankrupt there as a company when we realized our product wasn't selling, and we reinvented it because we strongly believed we had something that could bring a change to these organizations. And we reinvented our product. And what we came up with was the idea of an activity marketplace. Not just a project, but if you break down the project into smaller activities, you would get, you need less time to contribute to an activity, and you could do it within your job without having to ask your manager. And that's what our new product is. It's a Tinder for activities. You can swipe through stuff that you can actually do within your current job. Let me tell you about it. I'll skip this slide. Because we only use 17% of our talent, this allows us to use the other 83% on small activities. We call it an activity exchange. Anyone can put an activity on there that you don't want to do yourself. You feel like maybe somebody else is better in it. I don't get energy from it. But we usually start with the regular projects or vacancies. Stuff that needs to be done in organizations. The regular work. We sit down with project managers. We split down the project into small pieces of work. We unbundle it. And we share this work among the employees. And we say, hey, this needs to be done. Is there anything you could contribute to? So we use lunch presentations. We present it on the internet. We use newsletters. We just broadcast the activities of these projects to employees. And we're surprised how they actually say, hey, I'm going to help you. I'm going to do these interviews. I'm going to analyze this data for you. I'm going to make this presentation. Yeah, I like to organize a selling event. If you split these activities up to small enough packages of work, people are actually picking them up. So the thing we need to do is splitting down work to a much smaller packages than we're used to. It needs to be something you can put in your to-do list for a day, and at the end of the day say, hey, check, I did it. So not something that takes days and weeks, just a few hours maximum. Your manager won't even notice that you worked on it. And by using this, you can source much more. Let me show you how it works. You can browse through wall projects. You can click every project, and it has like a Kanban board, like you know from Agile with the backlog and things to do. Each, maybe you know from Trello and stuff like that. It has activities on it. You can just see, okay, so maybe there's an organization of a sales event. Maybe there's an activity that says, okay, make an invitation or do the social media. Something small. And you can see, okay, nobody's doing it yet. You can click it. So one way is browsing through all the work. But there's another way. And that's really interesting. We allow you to Tinder through these activities and say, hey, I like it or I don't like it. So on your phone or on the desktop you can say, hey, this sounds good to me. No, I don't like it. Or any specific activity, like design something, write an invitation, write a blog. And by going through these activities, we get to know your profile. And we get to know what you would like to do in the future. So instead of all these talent tests and profiles and CVs that go in the past, we get to know profile based on their future wishes. What you want to do. Really practical talent sites. And of course we use this for matching. So now we're the Spotify of work. We can every day give you a brand new activity that needs to be done instantly. Based on your preference. And after being, you pick one activity, you can just do the activity, or you can see, okay, this activity links to the other activities, I'm actually contributing to a project, and that's really important. we found out. People need to see what the context is. What's the meaning of my activity? How does it add to the project goal? How does the project add to the organization goal? And by working this way, people actually really feel engaged. Our clients say, it's amazing. One of my clients, ISS Facility Services, they believe they can really unlock hidden talent from professionals. All through the company. People working at the reception desk, they have time slots that there's nobody coming in, there's no phones coming in, they have time slots to work on something else, and they're surprised that they actually can help organize a sales event, or create a beautiful presentation, or do the photos for an event. And actually, all the work that needs to be done can be broken up to these small pieces. And I'm saying all the work. And of course, there are some very specific, highly specialized jobs that need to be done by professionals. But even this type of work, you can share in this way. I'm talking to hospitals on emergency departments, where people come in and need to instantly action, instantly operating. So then, also there you can use this principle: who's available, who can do this, and then you can have a match from both sides. You can check from the work side, okay, who's the best professional, but the professional can also choose, okay, what's the work that fits me? And who knows best? It's always the professional himself, and not the manager. So I believe in this way you can engage with your personnel. You can improve the employee experience, giving them the feeling of, wow, I did something new. And maybe it fails, okay, just ask somebody else to do it. It's a small activity anyway, eh? And of course you can add on this, you can add ratings, you can build profiles, maybe this profile can travel with you, because, hey, we've got it in the system now, right? So you can transfer it to another organization if you move. You can use the system also to add freelancers, because usually we start with implementation with employees. It feels kind of safe, and we trust each other, and we put the work on there. We don't have to care about, maybe other people can see what we're doing. But once you get to know this way of working, you can add trusted extended workforces, like freelancers, to work with you. Or maybe another company that you have a partnership with, work on an activity in another company. So you can mobilize your workforce, work with externals, and slowly transform into a network. Well, in the beginning, you keep your traditional organization like the way it is. You just do something extra. And of course, once it starts taking off, you start flexibilizing your traditional organization. So I'm doing this in corporate organizations. I'm also doing it in of course, it has an app you can instantly get access. I'm also doing it in government organizations. It's the same thing. The challenges coming in, they need a challenged way of working instead of the traditional departments. You need to form teams from different departments to solve issues in society faster and faster, more complex all the time. You can even work together with citizens to solve issues. So you need a different way of resourcing people and putting them to work. They also they use this as well. And one of their quotes, it's also research done there. It leads to 37% of less sickness leave. So people actually feel so engaged. They can work from anywhere. They don't have to say, hey, I'm sick, I'm not coming. I can still work, and I feel less sick because I feel more engaged. So one of the things that we're actually solving here as well is burnout and bore-out. Main problem. 20% of people these days get a burnout during their career. Especially high 20s, 30s. Why? Because they work very hard. They don't feel like they can say no. On the other hand, when there's some usual suspects, usually they can't say no and they work really hard. There's a lot of people not being engaged and they don't feel like they work hard. So what if you can equal this workload? Put some of the activities to the other part. You can engage people with the bore-out and prevent bore-out. You can help people with the burnout, say, hey, focus on your talent. Say no to other stuff and leave it to other people. And actually, once you focus on that one thing that you're really good at, it is scary, because it means you have to say no. But you will get better at it really fast. And you will get recognized for it and rewarded for it. And I believe that's the future for anyone, to work on that. Let me say, put it a little bit in the competition landscape, it's my final slide. Because what I'm presenting to you, this activity exchange, is like a little bit in the middle of two large and very fast growing markets. It's the HR tech arena, where, as you see, it's a $50 billion US market, and it's growing to $25 billion market. Many vendors, you see some around here even, are in there, but most of them are still focused on jobs and on large pieces of work. They still look at it from a career perspective, and I think that's changing. In a platform economy, you don't need to focus on jobs anymore. You need to focus on the real work. The real work is actually on the other side. It's on the collaboration software side. Also a really huge market, with $9 billion growing to $60 billion. And those activity-based working segments. But they're all focused on teamwork. They assume that you have your team already. They don't help you get the right team members during the job. And you need different people once your project evolves. So we've kind of a unique solution combining those two markets. On the one hand, talent, on the other hand, activities. And bringing those two together. And I believe that's the solution for you to design a really employee-centric future of HR, where you focus on what needs to be done, and you help an employee during an employee journey to find the right work. And it's not about function, position, salary, it's really about what can I do? Help people find the right jobs. I will skip this large example and end for this slide. I wish you all a very happy free fall by letting go of the traditional HR way of thinking. Because in the future, where we just pick work on marketplaces, we don't need jobs anymore. And if we don't need jobs, we don't need HR. We even don't need companies anymore. We need to totally reinvent what we work with. And that needs a free fall of all of us. And I'm looking forward to discussing this free fall with you during today. I will be here, we're flying back tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to talking with you about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have a couple of questions for you. Thanks God we started to use our chatbot.
Yeah.
So, a couple of questions. First of all, if to talk, how do you think, is it possible if, just a second, there is a lot of questions by the way.
Thank you.
Just a second. I think with which one to start. Can the production company, for example, those who produce food, work at 401, it's a new kind of organization, this 40?
Yeah.
And how to transform them, if it's possible?
Yeah.
If it's a big production company.
I definitely agree that theoretical, any production can be organized 4.0. And the easiest way to prove it, you can just start over with a startup, producing it in this way, and have this form of organizing. So the challenge is not how to organize this new way. If you would just start over again, you could do it. The challenge is how to transform culture, structure, people working in there for such a long time through this new way of organizing. And it can only be done in small steps. Let me just pick one small step for you, for instance, decision making. How are decisions made? Are decisions being made by the manager, or are they being made collectively in a team? If you, for instance, change the way decisions are made, it's a huge step. It's something small, but it's a huge step in how you feel like we organize it. So, yes,
Okay.
food production can also shift.
Next questions. And okay, we discussed that. Давайте я перейду на русский. So the question is that if person just decided that he can do this task, but it's happened that no, he just overestimate himself and decide, okay, I can, but no. What's happening this way, in this situation and platform? How to react?
Hopefully you just talk about it and you learn something from it to prevent it happening again, and hopefully you have an environment where you actually are allowed to fail and people can say, hey, you learned from it. We always celebrate failures with pie. So we say, hey, we have a failure, somebody failed, you learned something from it, that's celebrated. Of course, usually you don't have these environments. And then of course you need to be really sure if somebody puts a task on there, can it fail? And to what amount can it fail? But in practice, if an employee picks it up, an important he already is sure. I see the other side is more important. Engage people to say, hey, you can do it. Yes, you can do it. No, I'm not sure. So in practice, it doesn't happen often.
Okay, interesting. And if there is many people who want to do this particular task, for example, it's necessary just one person to do this, but it's 5, 10, or 15 people who want to be part.
Yeah.
What's happened in this case?
Well, sometimes you can just have 15 people do it. If they all feel like they want to do it, maybe form teams, maybe have 15 times do the same selection. I mean, what if 15 people like say, I want to take the photos here. Well, let's have 15 people take the photos and see who can take the best. What's the problem if they would like to?
Right. And who can decide which one is the best one? How it's happened? How we understand that that particular result is the best one? How it's working?
By transparency. This is all solved by transparency. If you can just see, okay, many people are already taking pictures, I don't need to do it. And of course somebody who put the task on there, who feels responsible, can also say, I want to have only 2 or 3 people. And he can say, how are we going to decide on who's the best? Maybe there's still someone responsible for it, some manager can say, okay, I'm going to pick the best. Maybe we do it crowdsourcing, maybe we just see who gets the most hits. There are different ways to rate quality as well in the future.
And you show us the analytics on engagement, and this analytics was from 2006. How do you think things have changed from that time?
Definitely. But it was only one number, I think, from 2006. But it wasn't changed enormously, so I could still use the same number. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think it was a great presentation, and Lawrence is still here. Some gifts from our partners, fellow trainings. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Have a nice day.